we always begin all of our sessions with acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honor by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your remarkable work.
Sure. So my name is Tasha Van Vlack, and I'm the co-founder of a Canadian-based initiative called the Nonprofit Hive. And we've been around, we launched mid-October, so not very long ago, and we're not even a year in. And the goal has been to create a community for change makers worldwide to connect in community with each other, because I think we're all so good in the social impact space at finding community and peer support for our constituents, but not always for each other. And so just trying to find a space for, on a higher end goal, if we could facilitate collaborations and international connections, that would be lovely. But on a lower level, it's also just a place to talk about the state of nonprofit work and the fact that this is a really challenging industry, and the people who work in it are critical to its success, but I don't know if we always treat them as such. And so it started out as, just something a little kind of simple. And I thought maybe this will take off, and had no idea what to expect. And instead we're, 840 change makers strong in 37 countries to date in the last 7 months. So it's really just taken on a life of its own. It's very exciting.
Wow, that's amazing. Congrats for that. That's
Thanks.
Great.
Yeah.
And can you articulate your mission and vision for us?
Sure. I think the mission itself is kind of simple. It's very focused in on relationship building and community building in the context of the niche being those who work in nonprofits. So it's broad enough that we're talking about volunteers. We have board members who've joined. We have people who are still in-house. And we're also making sure to include nonprofit consultants and those who still serve nonprofits through their continued engagement and work. Because we know that oftentimes those are the individuals who have, this historical knowledge of nonprofit work, but they've chosen, due usually to having better boundaries than some of us in nonprofit work, to move into a support role instead. But we know they bring something valuable to the continued community. And, I think our values are really just focused in on how to look critically at nonprofit work and maybe do it differently, maybe do it better, how to still do it well in forward facing to clients, but also maybe look at how we can care for the people inside the work as well, and what could happen if we focused in on the people who run the missions themselves as well.
Amazing. And what inspires you about the work you do?
Oh man, I know, we had the moment there, Victor saying hi, and he's in Ghana, and we have multiple organizations that have joined from Ghana. And one of the first, have to shout them out, was Fafali organization, and learning about their mission, having that moment to connect with another person who's a founder, who is, putting their whole soul into creation, is just a really cool, it's a cool experience. Every Thursday when we have these one-to-one Hive chats where you're matched with someone else in the industry in conversation, I think it kind of reseeds a fire inside of you to go, this is really cool work. And oftentimes we look at it as very hard work, and it is, and there's the challenges that come with it of lack of resources, lack of staff usually. The goal feels ever out of reach for many nonprofit missions, but there's also it's really cool. Like at the core of it, nonprofit work is incredible. The people it attracts are equally incredible. And so I think for me, this has always just been, it's reigniting my passion every day by getting to have conversations with those individuals.
Absolutely. Like you're saying, from different areas, just really exchanging experiences, exchanging, moments. And That's really what it's all about, because it really brings that level of understanding throughout all sectors, all throughout different regions and experiences, your lives, like what you go through. These are human moments, that's a lot of
Absolutely.
times lacking nowadays, right?
Absolutely. We are lacking it. And I think, post COVID, we're all looking for connection and community in a way that I don't know that it necessarily was lost. I think we just it got sidetracked somehow and we all forgot how important it truly was. And I can see this just deep desire and need for connection among change makers, and that they often feel very isolated. So I'm excited to be bringing something to the table that is clearly needed.
Excellent. And okay, so like what type of challenges and barriers have you faced, and how do you or your team work to overcome those challenges or barriers?
Ooh, well, initially, I'm not a technical person, and I will gladly embrace that role. I love community building, I love relationship building, but I'm not technical. So I was very fortunate to have a co-founder with me at the beginning, helping push the technology through, Dave Norris, which was really critical to our initial success. Some of the challenges were just even trying to distill what the idea and the concept was, because for some reason, the idea of one-to-one conversation felt innovative online, which kind of is funny. I think we're all used to really big group webinars where you're all coming together to learn from one expert in the field, and often they are experts, but trying to encourage the fact that maybe everyone has a voice and they all have something to say that's unique to the challenges of nonprofit work, to, if we could all share what's working in social impact and what challenges we're seeing. We're all just kind of like that rising tides idea of like boats all rising together was not something that was immediately embraced, I guess. And so a lot of the challenges was just trying to share my idea and this vision, and people kind of going, really, just one-to-one conversation? And I don't know, it was something that I still have people go, but so it's not group chats? And it's like, no, no group chats, just one-to-one. And so that was an initial challenge for sure.
But that's so embraceable, because it's like you said, it's big group on Zoom and, all these different chats, and you listen to the one person, yet, yes, does have a lot of wisdom and knowledge to share. But guess what? There's people listening that you would be, that also has that same, or it could be even higher. We don't know.
Yeah,
So one-to-one is very, very needed, because it sends that voice out to the ones that normally sit in the back, normally sit within a group and don't say anything, but they really
absolutely.
genuinely do have a lot to say. So kudos to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what would you say your key priorities are right now?
Key priorities for sure continue to be sustainable growth. And I keep using that term, and then some people look at me funny, and my background initially is marketing, but I think I don't want growth for growth's sake. I don't want us to have 10,000 members tomorrow. I want a group of members that are engaged and really there because they want to connect. And so some of it has been sacrificing growth for the sake of, that quality of membership and people who just really want to build with us, like build together. What are we building together? And so amplifying community voices has been really important to me. We have many members who have already been writing us articles that they may never have been asked to write an article before, but they have something so valuable to share. Their experience is just like so valuable that I'm excited that we can put something out there to the world that is theirs, and share what they have to say. And kind of moving forward, where we're headed to is trying to, our platform is free. So that's really important to me, that we're able to keep one-to-one connection free for many reasons. One, we have a large international audience, and I know that even a small subscription might be too much, and I don't want them to have that barrier to connection. And so that's part of it. Nonprofit, professionals, change makers often have very small budgets. So I didn't want it to be this barrier to professional networking or growth for them. So we're looking at sponsorships, and proud to say we have many Canadian and US agencies in marketing and fundraising and technology that are coming to the table and helping sponsor these conversations. So it's been really exciting to see even those who, run businesses in the nonprofit space deciding that this was something they were interested in investing in. So that's kind of our next goals, is how to continue to ensure that this can always be free and there's no barriers to participation for people.
Exactly. Very, very important.
Yeah.
And if I guess, how do you feel about the future of nonprofit in Canada?
Such a big question. It's so loaded. I'm hopeful. I think, I was very fortunate and had been involved with the Accelerate conference in Toronto, and we did a screening of Uncharitable, which I had seen a couple of times already. And, 30 of us got together for a small screening, and that conversation was so stimulating. It had such varied views on what nonprofit work was. People had suggestions, and it was, a small group, but everyone had something really brilliant to say. And so I think I'm hopeful, because I think we are starting to look at things with a bit more of a critical eye and realize that the status quo and, continued martyrdom for the work, it's not a sustainable practice. And it's definitely not going to attract the next generation of nonprofit founders, fundraisers, marketers, program managers. Nonprofit work has to become also like a chosen field that doesn't sacrifice your financial future as well in order to participate in it. So I'm hopeful that I didn't hear those conversations when I came into nonprofit work. 7 years ago, that wasn't even a conversation. Instead, it was everyone going, well, this is just how it is. And so maybe things are changing if we're at least willing to start the conversation now.
Yeah, good point. We've seen things a little bit more broad, and people have that kind of broadening, opening of the mind, to
Yeah,
really, yeah, on a higher level. So for sure, I see that too.
absolutely.
And what is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like to you?
Oh man. I think my ultimate goal is really just, I want to have some sort of knowledge that what I did had some impact. I think, right, this is an industry I love desperately. I'm not sure that for me, working in a nonprofit is actually going to move the needle. And I think there's a lot of people in-house nonprofits who are not really positive what their work is doing and what impact they're truly making. So for me, I feel like I've already succeeded on some of those goals. We had a group of African founders who slowly over time have met through our platform, and they get together on Sundays now and talk about, as a founder in Africa, what this is like. They're all in different, countries, but they're getting together and having this opportunity to communicate and plan and strategize together. And so for me, that was like, they shared that, and I was going, oh my, there's way better than I'd ever anticipated already. So in some ways, the goal is just to continue being able to do what's already happening and to create just a really empowered group of people who, the niche is nonprofit work, but the sky's the limit for what they could do together.
That's it. That feeling of, being a part of bridging gaps and really,
Yeah.
relinking the links that were once broken,
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. And if we're going to be an international community, even just based on connection, I don't know that we
Mhm.
can say we're an international community, but all of the technology is there. I think
Yeah,
the desire is there. It's just sometimes that first step can feel so overwhelming. And I mean, I love LinkedIn, but I can get on LinkedIn and be like, who should I connect with? Who do I have something in common with? Who wants to connect with me as well? And so I think, this idea is really just taking this little tiny piece out of going, you sign up for a conversation, you don't know who you're going to get, but I am taking the time to go, this person really should meet with this person because they have these things in common at the core is nonprofit work. And so it's been really wonderful to be able to facilitate that kind of connection and community.
that's right. Amazing. All right, my goodness, we're like done. I have one more left.
Right.
And do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action at this time?
I think just closing thoughts, like, thank you for including me on this. It's very exciting. I know there's so many change makers in the Canadian space that are really doing amazing stuff. So thanks to yourself, to Victor, for asking me to participate. And second of all, I just think, the Canadian space, we're all maybe a little bit too passive sometimes to some of the different pieces going on within nonprofit work. I would love to see the Canadian change maker space just getting a little bit louder. I think, we're often thought of as a little bit too passive and nice, and we do things a certain way. And I think there's so many brilliant people in the Canadian space that absolutely have the power to shake things up. And I'm hoping to participate and support those who are doing it and maybe shake some things up myself. So
beautiful. Well, we definitely see it. We're going to hear it. It's in your voice. We know that you are really a part of the change maker. And like I said, that piece of puzzle that's connecting all the other pieces to make one global community in the nonprofit space, and just in a global community, right? That's what we want at the end of the day. So we thank you so much on behalf of SETC. We really appreciate it. This is going to be really good. And when people get to see this on YouTube, I hope that they're inspired. And, this I'm sure won't be our last time meeting. And, again, on behalf of SETC, I really appreciate everything that you do, Tasha. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, too.
So I'm just going to close the way that we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thanks again, Tasha. Appreciate your time.
Goodness, thank you.
All right, take care.